Dude, we're so bad at this. Hey everybody!
Hey!
So by the time this video goes out, we will have hit 100,000 subscribers.
Woo!
Which is a truly terrifying number. So we decided, in honor of this occasion, we would do another Q&A. Updated for you new guys. Which is very exciting.
Yay.
Because you're new, and this is your event. This is your celebration. Oh my god, we're bad at this. Okay, questions. Question number 1. What do you plan to do after college?
Question number 2. Why the big subscriber boost?
What's your favorite myth / favorite god? Thor.
Apollo.
Yeah.
Will you cover the topic? Probably.
Probably, yeah, eventually. What are your religions? Broadly atheistic.
Broadly agnostic.
What do you say to people who are new to the channel? Greatest hits to watch first? Beowulf, Journey to the West Part 1, and I really like the Edgar Allan Poe Halloween special.
I think my Thebes and Alcibiades videos are just hilarious, and then Judaism video is great, and my Venice series has a special place in my heart.
Have we published / will we publish anything ever?
I wrote a book, it's about philosophy, link in the description.
Questions from our Patreon patrons.
Woo.
Alicia Shaw asked, favorite character you voiced? I had a lot of fun voicing Satan and Monkey King, because sometimes I get to voice him pretending to be other people, which is always fun.
I liked voicing Jesus.
Jesus.
Jesus. Oh, Jesus.
Jesus.
I liked voicing Jesus and also the Jade Emperor!
What are your ambitions for the channel now that it's reached this point? Keep it going, cover more stuff, make it more useful. Also, how do you feel you've improved since the last Q&A?
I make maps.
I've actually gotten a little faster at drawing frames, amazingly, which is pretty cool. What is your favorite / cutest chibi that Red has ever drawn? I think Chibi Eros is pretty adorable.
I love the Achilles burrito. It's my favorite OSP t-shirt, which, by the way, merch in the description.
There we go. How to P&P asks, Red, what is your favorite myth and why? Geez. I really like Beowulf. It's got dragons and stuff.
Blue, what is your favorite period of history and why? I like the Renaissance because in addition to the hilarious Italian wars, which are all just petty and ridiculous, it's just all the awesome culture in one place at once happening everywhere, and it's fun. Yay, art!
Red, again, what is your favorite and least favorite trope? Oh man, for favorite, I really like the crouching moron hidden badass trope. Because it never gets old to have that character who you think is a total loser just bust out some crazy skills when stuff gets real. So that's I think that's my favorite. And for least favorite, I am so tired of stories where the entire plot is based on miscommunication. Where if character A and character B spoke words to each other, nothing would go wrong ever. It's just
Tell me more about how much you love Frozen.
Thomas Klinkhammer asks, for both of us, what are your plans for after college? What are your plans for the channel after college?
Cover all the things until we get real jobs.
Yeah. Also, Red, if you could rewrite any myth, what would it be and why? I feel like maybe Bellerophon didn't deserve the ending he got, and something a little more chill and less murdery would be kind of in order. But beyond that, I don't know.
Blue, if you could rewrite any part of history, what would it be and why? Well, barring all of the stop X, Y, and Z from being destroyed, Library of Alexandria, Constantinople, I would definitely like to see what happened if Caesar didn't get assassinated, because that changes a lot of things, and I don't know if it would be good or bad. I want to know. I want to know. The entire assassination was based on an if, and we don't even know if that would have been the case. So
Splinter that timeline. Let's flashpoint it up.
Barry Allen's what? Someone called?
Rip Hunter's listen here, you little shit. From the YouTube comment section, William Dragon asks, why do you dislike the Percy Jackson series? Angry smiley face. And could you do more clean videos so they can be used by students?
Please, Red, tell us. Tell us about why you totally hate Percy Jackson more than anything, more than anyone ever.
I don't hate those books, alright? I think they're a little dumb. I think a lot of things are dumb. Look, in middle school, I loved those books, like, unironically. I loved a lot of things unironically that I now only love ironically. Totally. I thought they were really fun. I really liked Percy, and I really liked the first-person perspective that kind of showed us that, like, this kid, he was a kid, this kid is, like, way over his head, and you're kind of thinking, like, he's doing all this really cool stuff, but he's, like, completely unprepared and terrified 24/7, and it's really funny because he's also really funny, so you're just like inside his head as he's woefully unprepared for all these incredibly awesome situations he's in, and that's really fun. And like I also liked how the chapter titles were really funny, so
Titles were great.
There was a lot of really good stuff, and then I was like, okay, cool, that was fun, that was kind of a satisfying conclusion. And now it's like the Roman series, and the Roman series is not first person. The Roman series has very little banter.
Wait, it's not?
No.
What?
I think it's like, I remember it being third person and like switching perspectives every chapter.
Reared in.
And the
Come
chapter
on, you
titles.
had such a good thing going.
And the chapter titles aren't funny anymore. They're just like, the title is the name of the person who this chapter is about. And it's like, I couldn't get into that. And also, I kind of realized that Rick Riordan basically writes 3 protagonists. And that was kind of a bummer. And it kind of made me retroactively not like the Percy Jackson books as much. Also, So I know why you are asking this question, because in the Aeneid video, I said, this is more confusing than those stupid Percy Jackson books, and I was referring to the fact that the Roman and the Greek gods had different names, but thanks to syncretism, represented the same gods a lot of the time. So I was like, it's so confusing having to switch out who I'm referring to. So like, oh, it's Jove, or Jupiter instead of Zeus, or it's Venus instead of Aphrodite. Hence the, stupid Percy Jackson books. I don't hate the books! God! I've said this like 4 times in different comment sections, but nobody reads them.
And you will say it forever.
I'm gonna be that guy. It's on the TV tropes page. I'm that guy who hates Percy Jackson. God damn it.
Rick Riordan is like, motherfucker. From Droplet Magus, question 1. What are your favorite and least favorite art movements? Question 2. To Blue, who is, in your opinion, the best tactician in history? Since Bob Ross doesn't count as his own art movement, which is a terrible shame, I would have to say that the vaguely neoclassical / like romantic period is totally the cool thing. And then after that, Impressionism happened. Half of it was good, half of it was bad, and then after that we get modern art. So I think it's real hard to beat Alexander, because to be that young and make that many military innovations, you like have to have Ares and Athena on speed dial or something. Like, damn. That kid knew his stuff.
Yeah. Personally, I think the best tactician in history is Zhuge Liang, that Chinese general who won a siege by making tea. But whatever.
Blue, what sword do you fence? Saber, the good one. Next question.
K.A. John _16 asks, what were your favorite books as a kid? It was comic books. I just read so many comic books. Because if it had pictures, I didn't have to read so many words.
Yeah, as a kid, I didn't read, like, at all.
It was kind of a new development. I did like the Artemis Fowl books when I got them from the library.
101 Crazy Person asks, do you ship people? Please say you do.
I dabble.
Wonderbat!
Ray of Sunshine says, question for both of you. Do you like Disney's Hercules, or are the mythological inaccuracies too much for you guys? For Blue, without including events of mass merger, God, sorry.
I think AT&T and Time Warner Cable is a pretty good one that I want to...
Without including events of mass murder / torture / sickness, what are your least favorite things that have ever happened in history? Okay, about Disney's Hercules, I just have a lot of problems with that movie beyond the mythological inaccuracies. Like, the pacing is really weird, and the god designs are cool, but their characterizations are funky, and and the mythological inaccuracies really bother me. The muses are good, though.
Muses is the best part of that movie, hands down.
Yes, my soul.
That's the gospel truth. That's an interesting question. Thank you for not just being like, or for kind of like qualifying away the, and then everyone dies, so this event is bad. I personally would say American history, because if I'm totally honest, I think it's kind of boring and a little bit annoying, and I would do with just being part of the colonies still. British Empire for life.
Not sure I'd be down for that. Callum Sparrow, to both Red and Blue, here's the scenario. If you could transport yourself to any fictional universe, temporarily or permanently, where would you go? Anywhere that lets me ride a dragon.
Avatar.
Derek Dude 123 asks, what's your favorite meme?
Now, it's funny you should ask that, because I have a question for you. Have you ever heard the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise?
Is it possible to learn this?
Prequel memes is leaking.
Blurp asks, Red.
Such a great name.
Yeah. Blub asks, Red, how do you get yourself to draw so much? I've been drawing for a while, but drawing over and over again, for example, frames in an animation, I could never get myself to do. See, it's funny. Drawing and animating are like the only things I can actually sit still for a long enough time to do. I don't know. You just kind of... This is like the worst possible advice, but you just kind of sit down and do it. I find that, like, it helps if you don't make a big deal of when you're drawing. Like, I doodle in basically every class I have. Which is, you know, I don't...
School advice, kids.
I don't advise doing that unless you... No, just don't. But, like... I don't know, I'll draw frames and then I'll stop and then I'll like pull out my sketchbook and draw stuff for like stories or whatever, and then I'll go to class and I'll doodle in my notebook. It's just something you do, and if you're doing it because it's fun, it doesn't feel like it's taking that long. So I don't know. I also find that it helps to not like wait for the mood to strike, because I've sometimes been like, oh man, I should draw frames, but I'm just not really feeling it. But sometimes you just like sit down and start drawing, you find that you do feel like doing it anyway. So I don't know. Your mind is a lying son of a bitch, and it will tell you not to do stuff you actually want to do. So do the things that you know you want to do, even if you don't feel like you want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unethical Drinking Water asks, to both Red and Blue, on average, how long does it take to produce a video? From about researching the subject matter to the animation. I've never actually timed it, because I just kind of do video work in random times during the day, and sometimes it's like, oh, I'll start now at 10 o'clock, and then eventually it's 3. I found that it's roughly like 3-4 hours of work per minute of screen time.
Yeah, it's long. It takes me like anywhere between like a few hours to a week to read something and write the script, and then recording doesn't take very long, and editing doesn't take very long, but then drawing the frames, like, I've found that if I really, like, push myself, I can get about a minute or 2 of footage done in a day, but that's, like, I can't keep up that pace, and then I have to, like, sleep and do something else for, like, a month, so it's not very sustainable, so I try to do things a little more slowly. Sorry, guys.
It's like making sausage, just don't ask.
I swear I'm working on Journey to the West Part 5. It's just taking a while.
Quick, ask her more about it.
No. Ace Drew says, what fan theory about a book/film/TV series do you wish was true? I promise I'm not salty, but I really liked the fan theory that Jack and Ashi were gonna have some dope mentor-student relationship kind of thing, rather than a romantic subplot between a 75-year-old time-traveling samurai and a teenage child soldier who's never met another man in her life.
Extra thick!
Foolish samurai!
Basically, it's like episode 9 is Jack being like, oh yeah, that was fun, and then Aku's like, foolish samurai! It was I, Aku! I like the fan theory that the engineers of the Death Star built the weakness on purpose. I think it actually clears up a lot of plot holes.
We should make a movie about that.
Yeah, and then they should make it, like, okay to good.
Mrs. Diggyhole says, how long did it take you to develop your art style, and what tips do you have for aspiring artists? Oh man, years and years. Funny story, I've talked about this before, but I learned how to draw from, like, life drawing, so initially my style was very realistic. And then, at, like, age 7, I was like, man, I really like comic books, and they all have a style. I should have a style. So I tried to, like, make one up immediately. Like, I'm gonna draw faces like this and eyes like this, and it was bad, and I couldn't sustain it, and I was like, why is this so hard? And my mom was like, that's not how art works. Come on. And that was also around the time where I first discovered manga, so you can see how that went. Because everyone goes to that phase where you're drawing, like, square eyes, because you don't really understand how, like, line thickness works. You're just like, I'm making it angular, why doesn't it look right? Honestly, I think the only way to develop a style is to just draw so much, because what I ended up doing is just, like, I don't know, like, doodling constantly and drawing characters over and over and over again until I can draw them consistently, and that develops a style. And, like, the chibi style I had to develop kind of on the fly, because, you know, when I did the Ilya video, I'd basically never drawn a chibi in my life, which is why it's not good, and I should really redo it. But, like, by the Aeneid video, I had a fairly consistent chibi style, and it hasn't actually drifted that much since then, and it's just a matter of practice, because there's, like, several hundred frames in a given, like, 10-minute video, and that's a lot of practice to get in. And And for the tips for aspiring artist thing, it's the same advice. Just draw as much as you can, like all the time. Find something you want to draw. Because the only reason I draw so much is because when I was like 10, I was like, I'm gonna make a comic, and then I just started drawing characters for that, and I have not stopped. So find something you want to draw, and then just draw that, like a lot. Because if you want to do something, it's a lot easier to do it. Unsurprisingly. Josh Lang asks, Red and Blue, do you have a particular philosophical school which you follow or particularly like? If so, why? If not, then why not? I guess my personal philosophy is kind of like this mix of like Buddhism and Taoism. Not to sound like a pretentious white kid, but it's just like Buddhism is like being happy is the most important thing. And I'm like, yes, good, I agree. So that's a big part, and Taoism is kind of like going with the flow, and that's also good and makes sense to me. So, and like together you just kind of get this thing where it's like you don't ever overextend yourself. You do things like in moderation, which is the whole Buddhist thing, and if you're unhappy, you figure out why you're unhappy and then you fix that thing, and it's, I don't know, makes you chill.
It's good. I had a phase not too long ago when I thought that Taoism was stupid and useless and antiquated, and then I gave it a second pass when someone mentioned it in class, and I realized, oh wait, my entire book is basically Taoism, and now I realize that it's really cool. You need to not take it as like the go sit in a forest for a million years philosophy, which a lot of people will interpret it as, but like recognize the way that it can apply to a modern life, which it can.
As long as there are people who are happy and people who are unhappy, there will be relevant schools of thought on how to get from one to the other.
Yep.
Coolest Ninja 1242 and Joseph Lundgren and Asta Svane Bacchus asked, what is the meaning of life?
Maybe the point of life is figuring that out for yourself.
The only meaning to life is that which you give it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. KP2A asks, what is your favorite Shakespeare play and movie adaptation? I really like The Tempest, but I think my favorite adaptation is She's the Man. Just because it is so blatant.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, in the book, this is Duke Orsino, he is a duke. And then in the movie, it's like, this is Duke Orsino, the hottest kid on the football team. It's just, oh, it's not even pretending to be modern. Girl with Red Hair White Hawk asks, for whoever, if you were going to pick one magical sword throughout history, which one would you pick? It's predictable, but grass cutter.
Brendan Doherty and Volumnestia ask, how do you motivate yourselves to study for the finals, and what keeps you going throughout the year? Sorry if you already answered these, and good luck with those finals.
How do I motivate myself? I found that pure blind panic tends to be the best motivator, but it's not very sustainable. So I generally work in short bursts, and then I chill out for a little while, and then blind panic comes back and motivates me more, and it's worked out pretty well so far.
On that subject, pacing is what I found to be most important, so figure out exactly what you need to do. It's not just like, and then I'm gonna study. Like, think about how long it takes to study and how you can break that up and spread that out as much as you can and plan ahead for things. So, yeah.
Planning. Balsa Kovacevic. Oh god, I'm sorry. That guy asks, what do you admire the most about each other, and who would you date from mythology? Okay, so admiring first. Dude, Blue is smart as hell. And it's just this total, like, optimistic ray of sunshine. Just, oh man. That's what I'll do. We'll deal with the dating stuff later.
Okay. Red is easily the most talented person I know, and you know that because you're watching this channel. Because, like, she draws, writes, sings, what, and she's a math major! She's not even an arts major! She does all of this shit and then math! What the hell? It's not fair!
Yay. Okay, and dating from mythology, probably Kaguya. That way I could say my first girlfriend turned into the moon.
I would date Athena and then proceed to geek out about stuff for basically eons.
Yay! Odelia Jensen asks, hi, I'm new and I was wondering what advice you would give a new subscriber on anything. Do stuff that makes you happy, be introspective about the stuff that's making you unhappy, and then get rid of it so you can be more happy. Treat yourself.
Yeah. Somewhat similarly. Tell your friends and people close to you how you feel about things, good and bad, because you don't know how saying something nice to someone will, make someone's day, or if you say you need some help, how many people will rush to your aid to give it, because people are nice, even if most people can be assholes sometimes, so...
Everyone has the potential to be an asshole, but
Yeah.
It takes a special kind of person to be like, that's what I'm gonna focus on, how I can be a dick. Like, no, be good to people. Sony and Booty Dukes ask, hi guys, a lot of people will say stuff like, oh, that movie/book totally changed my life, and it's usually an exaggeration, but I want to know, is there a particular book or movie or story that actually did change the way you see yourself or the world or your actions? Thanks. Honestly, Journey to the West, my dad read it to me when I was really little, and he explained the whole thing about how it was like an allegory for the human journey to enlightenment, and how monkey was the mind, and I was like, that's the coolest thing ever, because it completely changed the way I thought about thinking, and like myself in general. And it was funny, because like the entire time he was reading me the story, I was like, wow, monkey's so cool, I really identify with him, and he was like, of course you do.
I identify with being quintuple immortal.
I identify with being an impulsive jackass. And like, I don't know, it kind of helped me like introspect more and have the words to describe what was going on in my head. So yeah, I think that's for me.
For me, it's a tag team duo combination two-parter of Assassin's Creed and Machiavelli's The Prince, because I started playing Assassin's Creed in like early high school, and I thought it was really cool and fun because it made history interesting because you interacted with people, so it seemed like not a textbook. And then in my sophomore year European history class, we read Machiavelli, and I had just been buddies with him in Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, so I was like, oh, he's so cool. So I started like reading Machiavelli and getting really interested in it, and then I talked about him a lot in class, and I was so like eager to relate everything back to Machiavelli that by the end of the year, I started speaking up in class about other stuff. So for like the first time in forever, I was actually actively interested in talking in class, which I'd never been before, and I haven't stopped since, so thank you, Assassin's Creed, and thank you, old dead white guy.
Exploring Stories asks, Myers-Briggs types. Last time I checked, it was ENFP.
For me, it's INT/F. I was 50-50 down the middle. J.
Yeah. So I get to be the champion, which means I'm Qui-Gon in that one Star Wars chart. Aw, yeah.
All my characters were lame in that chart.
Patrick Early says, Blue, other than fencing, are there any other martial arts you practice?
Fencing is a college thing, but before that I did a bunch of taekwondo, like a lot of taekwondo, like 5 or 6 years. And then I did some other stuff like jiu-jitsu, judo, Muay Thai, Eskrima was really cool, and I dabbled in karate.
See, I was gonna be like, I know martial arts too, you know, but I basically just know Tai Chi Chuang and a little bit of Eskrima, so
We did Eskrima together in high school, it was fun.
It was fun! BBMB asks, if you were a dictator of a middling oil state, what would your wacky gimmick be?
So, my wacky gimmick is that my oil state would basically be, like, playfully dinosaur-themed, except every, like, 4 or 5 years the plot twist is that all the dinosaurs die, and then my descendants turn them into more fossil fuels. So it's Jurassic Park, and then a commentary on the oil industry that I profit from. I'm a very introspective dictator.
My Zadar says, Voltron? Favorite? Mine's Pidge! Bye! You're awesome! Dude, I can't choose. Probably Shiro, because he's awesome and his design is really good.
You have no idea how much Red tried to get me to watch Voltron. Like, hey dude, I've been in Voltron hell for the past 3 days just watching Voltron straight. Do you want to watch it? No!
Trick
You
question.
described it as hell! That's not inviting!
It's a fun hell. It's a good one. It's got a new season coming out.
That's called Stockholm Syndrome, kids.
MC Jethro POVT has a bunch of questions, so let's see. Just gonna throw it down here in case it gets picked. 1. Are you guys doing fine over there? Yeah, surprisingly so. 2. Any upcoming projects you are really excited to do? Dude, yeah, I've got the Epic of Window in the lineup, and I'm really excited to do that, and I'm also really excited to do Journey to the West Part 5.
And I've got, like, over 10 history videos lined up for this summer, so, get hype.
3. Maybe it's early, but will you be open to collab with other YouTubers in the future? I mean, yeah, if they wanna. Kind of dinky, but they might be down. 4. You did Les Mis as a prank, but will you want to give a summary on modern plays like Dear Evan Hansen? Maybe? 5. To Red, have you ever considered performing on stage for a school play? Because Why Your Singing Voice is so great. Funny story, I have technically had a role in a Shakespeare play. I played Romeo's mother in a production of Romeo and Juliet in high school, and it was a nightmare because our theater director was terrifying.
Oh my god.
So scary.
It's like Dolores Umbridge up in here.
I spent most of that time monkeying around under the stage with a wrench, so that was fun. But I got to be Romeo's mother, who has 2 lines in canon, and I got 2 lines in the play, but they were different. And the first one was, "Oh, where is Romeo? Saw you him today?" And the second one was just like this shriek of pure loss and pain, which was actually a lot of fun to do.
I was the Capulet thug who bites his thumb at the Montagues, so basically all the deaths in the play are my fault. You're welcome, Shakespeare.
Thanks for getting my son exiled and me killed off screen, you ass. To Blue, when will the History Summarized series have another episode?
Timing pending either last week or next week.
Also, not a question, but congratulations on the 50k milestone. Soon it'll be 100k. Yes. Woo. Thanks.
Owl Soccer Goalie LL14 asks, to both, what was your favorite video to create? What is something that you can't wait to cover but haven't gotten a chance to yet? To Red, any plans to do another Shakespeare video? And to Blue, even though I'm pretty sure I already know the answer, what is better, Greece or Rome?
Oh man, for favorite video, I had a lot of fun working on Beowulf, but I think for currently running stuff, I just really enjoy drawing for Journey to the West because it's so vibrant, and also very anime, so I get to draw like a lot of cool fight poses that I don't generally get to do in stories where people just aren't flying around all the time. And yeah, I am planning on doing another Shakespeare video, or like, hopefully I'll just like finish it up, because it's not like he wrote that many books, so in the long run I do want to get through them, but because I use movie versions, it's a little hard, because some of them just don't have movie versions, and that's kind of a bummer.
For me, making the Venice series was like living in a dreamland, because it's just a wonderful history that's really long and has so many different arcs and events in it, whereas like most histories are defined by like 2 or 3 big things. Venice has like 5 or 6 huge, plot lines in its own. And it's not like those unseemly gaps in information like you have with Roman and Greek history where governments change and no one decides to write about it. But I also have to say that few things beat doing the amazing gruff voice work for Alcibiades.
And real quick, for a video I'm excited to do but haven't yet, when I get the chance to do the Mahabharata, that's going to be like my favorite thing. But it's going to take me like a year, more than a year. It takes me more than a year to do Journey to the West. It's going to take me like 3 decades to get Mahabharata done.
And by the way, oh my god, Owl Soccer Goalie LL14, you know it's Greece. Come on. Who are you trying to fool?
Then Koala asks, "Hey Blue, why do you look like a bootleg Kylo Ren?"
What? Okay, come on. Don't be ridiculous. I look nothing like, huh! Oh god, that is exactly me. That's kind of scary.
On the nose.
Yikes.
Aiden T asks, if you would have a fistfight with one historical leader, who would it be?
I could take that hunchback Augustus, no problem, and I would beat him up so hard that he would wish he got stabbed by 23 people. Also, I will take the Roman Empire. Thank you.
You know, I'm gonna maximize the drama and go with Vlad the Impaler. Not because I think I would win, but because I think it would by necessity be awesome and like take place on castle ramparts with like lightning in the background. Captain Hodor says, Red, #1 tip on writing a book. Play out the dialogue in your head before you even try to write it down. I find it really helps to get the character voices in your head, and like if you play through the conversation in a very fluid manner without, not like the pressure of writing it, but I found that people often like write in a different tone than they act, or that they play things out in their head. So like if you want the dialogue to flow properly, I find that it really helps to just like play it all out in your head long before you even write it down, and then just write down what you work out there. And I find that also sometimes your characters can surprise you if you let that happen, because if you're like sitting down to write, like, I'm gonna write the conversation where they discuss this, they'll just talk about this, but if you play it out in your head, one of them might be like, this reminds me of this backstory element, and then you spiral off into some other thing. So just, I guess my advice for writing is acting instead.
Captain Hodor also asks, Blue, one historic event that needs to be brought into cinema. Okay, so the Genoese siege of Venice in 1381 is an amazing event which like no one knows about that could totally make a movie. So the situation was really dire for Venice because Genoa was like right on their doorstep, and people had thrown down their entire livelihoods to provide money and supplies for the defense of the city. So people were like carting over all of their furniture to use for ramparts, a la Les Mis, and they withstood the siege, and it was amazing, and that's drama in itself. But after that, the council decided to kind of like hold a contest so that the people who acted the most valiantly and bravely in defense of the city could be made part of the aristocracy. And there was this whole thing about like who would and wouldn't get in. But this one guy like had like a farm or something. I'm not really sure. I need to look at the story again. But he had put down like everything he owned in defense of the city, and he didn't get picked for the aristocracy or the like nobility group. And he died of just like sheer episode 3 like lost the will to live sadness right after. So you can make a really good movie out of like super high tense drama and then like humans being sad about stuff. Oscar worthy, guys. Come on, get on it.
Oscar bait. Leopold has 3 questions. Number 1, what tropes do you plan to cover in future Trope Talk episodes? I don't know, a whole bunch though. 2, will Blue ever do a Trope Talk episode, or is Red hogging them all? They're mine, yo. 3, could you please do a Trope Talk episode on the Loves Redeems trope? I'd love to hear your opinion/analysis of the trope. Yeah, probably.
Smashblood 101 asks, question for both. Since we are our own worst critics, what are some things that you wish to improve on in your own videos?
Oh man. I want to redraw the Iliad and the Odyssey episodes now that I actually know how to draw chippies.
I would also like to erase the Les Mis video from existence, and I think that would bring my average video quality up by about 400%.
No, it stays. Kiki Minecraft, what is your favorite quote from anything? Getting real tired of your shit, Master Wayne.
In a similar vein, mine isn't really a quote, but when Talia al Ghul dies that like super fake ass death in the helicopter, like, just like that sound and that like sudden head tilt is my favorite quote from anything ever.
Is done. Dugginator asks, if you guys didn't have stereotypical American accents, which stereotypical accent would you guys like to have? Oh, dude, full-on Scottish or full-on Aussie?
Top of the morning to you, ladies! My name is Jacksepticeye! Can I try that again?
Oh, Christ. Snack Zyder says, I know you guys aren't really writers, but any suggestions? The name says Snack Zyder. That sounds a little fishy.
Do you think? No way, it couldn't be.
It's totally Zack Snyder in disguise.
Okay. In that case, stop making goddamn ensemble movies before you establish your freaking ensemble!
Good job being affiliated with Wonder Woman, though. That was a good movie. Seven-Tile Mabuza, I hope I said that right, says, Red and Blue, any interesting comics? And if yes, what is your favorite issue and or storyline or arc? Dude. It's dumb, but I read like the entire 80s run of the Teen Titans comic, and I really liked it, especially the Judas contract, because I grew up watching Teen Titans the cartoon, and I was like, Slade, an evil bad guy. And then in the Judas contract, he's just like this true neutral mercenary, and like, there's this bit, and I'm sorry, this is gonna go on for a little while.
Go for it.
There's this bit where like, so obviously Tara dies, and because she was crazy and evil, and Deathstroke is like, yeah, she was crazy and evil, and I'm out. Beast Boy is like, no, you are evil, and she was someone I liked, so I'm going to hunt you down and murder you. So we're gonna fight. And Slade's like, okay, and like shows up, just like this 40-year-old man, eye patch, button-down shirt, no armor, no weapons, and Beast Boy's like, no, fight me. He's like, no, you are a troubled teen. We are going to sit down in this Waffle House and we are going to talk out your problems. And they do, and it's so good. And I just really like that Slade when he's like this total, he's not a bad guy. He's like, he's a dad. He's a dad, and he's like, you're a troubled teen. So I'm gonna take you out for pancakes and we're gonna sort this all out.
Hashtag not all mercenaries.
Hashtag not all Deathstrokes.
I used to make semi-regular hospital trips when I was younger, and there was a comic store right next to it, and I was really big on Spider-Man back then, so every time we went to the hospital, I would go and insist on getting an Ultimate Spider-Man comic. So I have no idea if they were actually good, I just liked the pictures, but that's definitely a comic line that I have a large collection of at my house.
Aww. Fill in the blank said, what are your college majors? How did you choose said majors? What is the typical reaction you get when you tell them they're majors? Math, I'd already taken like half the required classes when I started, and it let me take a bunch of CS classes on the side, and the typical reaction I get is, ew, math, followed by, no, it's cool that you're doing it, I could never get into something like that. It's like, cool.
And that's one of 2 reactions. I usually get the other one. So I'm a classics and philosophy major, and I was an economics major at first, but then I decided to stop when I realized that economics in college is just they give you a textbook and tell you to piss off for 3 months and then give you a final. So I switched to something I actually enjoyed doing so I wouldn't hate myself. And the other reaction from the side of like, oh, ew, that's gross, is it's cool that you're doing classics. And on the opposite side of, ew, that's a gross major, the reaction I usually get is, so what job do you want to do with that? It's like, either you say the major's gross, or like, good luck getting a job. Jesus Christ, adults, what do you want from us?
Yeah. It's extra fun, because you get a lot of people who are like, why aren't there more women in STEM? And then they're like, ew, STEM! It doesn't even have anything to do with the girl stuff, it's just people are like, science is dumb, and so is intellectualism. If I see one more person say, I don't care what scientists think, it's like, it's their job to know more than you. The Jester asks, Red, have you ever considered putting your artwork of mythological creatures into a mythology storybook? Well, I have now. Joey Enox asks, Hey Red, what Ring of Hell and how long do you think Blue is going to be there for the April Fool's prank that you guys played?
Whoa. That video was my circle of hell. Did you see how much suffering I had to do to make those drawings? Oh my god.
Well, with that attitude, probably number 5, the Wrathful and the Sullen. Z-Jinx asks, what was your reaction when you found out you hit 50k before even getting the 30k milestone video ready? Mr. British Biscuit asks, good morning to you, Red. What is your opinion on representation in stories? Do you think it's getting out of hand in today's era of entertainment and is being forced, or are you on the side who thinks this is a natural process? I think it's a bit of both. Because here's the thing. There's stuff that people want to put into stories, and sometimes that can feel a little weird and stilted because sometimes they're writing from the perspective of saying, I have to put this thing in. And you do notice when stuff gets kind of shoehorned in, and this happens sometimes when people are writing representation, because it's like, token characters exist, and they are so obvious and so boring. But on the other end of things, I live in a big city. I live in a big city in America with a thriving LGBT population. To me, it is way more jarring when I read a story and everyone is white and straight and often a dude. Like, that is the thing that pulls me out of the story, because my reality has been this complex patchwork of different cultures and life experiences since the day I was born. And that's not true for everybody, but people often decry unrealistic levels of diversity in stories as being shoehorned in, and for me it's just like, I don't get it. And I think a lot of the time people don't write in representation because it just doesn't occur to them. For like decades in America, why would you even think of writing in a gay character or a female character in a non-supporting role? It wasn't how things worked in the society, so people didn't think about it happening. And now there's like blind spots in writing. There are things that people just think that's how things work, and then they write from there, and then stuff feels really flat. In the 50s and 60s, everybody smoked, so of course you write your 300 years in the future space future with everybody smoking. And nowadays, when many fewer people smoke, and the people who do smoke will smoke like fancy e-cigs or whatever, we look at that and we're like, that's...
bruh, I vape.
You look at that and you're like, I don't get it. That's jarring. It pulls me out of the story. It's based on assumptions that are no longer true. So I think that there's two sides here, and they're both not necessarily doing things right. I think you get the side that's like, oh no, I have to hit every demographic checkbox or I'm gonna get in trouble. Don't do that. Then you get the side that's like, there's no reason for me to vary from the default character setting of white straight male, so I'm just gonna put those everywhere. And it's like, don't do that either. It's boring. It is a complete coincidence that I am gesturing at a white straight male when I am
Hello.
explaining this.
I'm demographically very boring.
I guess it's like, if you're writing a story where it makes sense for there to be diversity, like anything taking place in a modern American city, or anything taking place in a fantasy world where you control how things work, you can totally do whatever you want. But if you want to go with realistic levels of diversity, walk down a city street and see how many white straight males you see compared to everybody else. And nothing against white straight males. Some of my best friends are white straight men.
I know tons of straight white men.
And I do think you should avoid both extremes of no diversity, everyone is exactly the same, unless you're in a setting where that makes perfect sense. Like Guardians of the Galaxy 2, not really a spoiler, there's this alien race called the Sovereign where everyone is genetically engineered and they're all gold. And they all look like gold people. And no one's looking at them saying, where are all the purple people? It makes perfect sense that they're all gold. Who cares? But on the other side, it's like, you shouldn't have like a whole list of all of the demographics you gotta check off and be like, oh no, I'm not including very specific representation of this specific demographic in this context. And one of the other things I found people do is like, the only time they tell stories with diversity, God, this is going on for hours, with diversity is when they're like, I gotta tell a story about how hard it is to be this thing that is not a straight white man. Which is kind of boring. Like, straight up, I've seen so many movies about like, it is hard to be a working woman. And it's like, yes, it's true. but I watched Wonder Woman to see a woman kick ass for 2.5 hours, and I did, and it was amazing, and I want more stories like that. You know, it helps to strike a balance. In all things. Balance in all things. Go
Taoism.
Yeah. So, TLDR, this is my second TLDR. Holy shit. TLDR, don't go full hit every demographic to avoid pissing people off, but don't go full no crazy demographics because there's no explicit need to include other demographics. Like, do what you want to do, man. It's your story.
Balance makes things feel more realistic, so go for balance.
Okay, and Mr. British Biscuit also asks, hello, Blue, and good morrow to you. I wish to inquire on your views on empires and whether they are generally a force for good, which has spread ideas and cultures across the globe that needs to be vindicated in modern society, or are they just excuses for rich and powerful civilizations to appropriate others' wealth and land and need to be scrutinized? Man, you are just all about the controversy today, aren't you, Mr. British Biscuit?
This is a really interesting question, though. So there have been basically two types of empires in history. One is it's, one people presiding over, a similarly ethnic group of people, and the other one is where you have a multi-ethnic empire. So, ancient Greek example, there's the Athenian Empire, which is Greeks ruling Greeks, and the Persian Empire, which was Persians ruling Greeks ruling other people, and it was a huge mix of cultures that spread out way far. In both cases, you can get instances of empires working for the good of everybody, where it exists as sort of a hub to bring people together who wouldn't normally interact, and you can exchange goods and make the quality of life improve for everybody, and that's great. And those things happened under, say, Alexander, who was a Greek ruling Persians and Indians, and he made a serious point to try to adapt to local culture and religion and stuff as much as he possibly could, so everyone felt like their culture and their society was being respected. He didn't try to make Persia look like Greece, because he knew that was impossible. And then you get places like Athens, where everything existed in the Athenian Empire for the explicit benefit of Athens. They were like, yeah, no, you guys exist to make us rich. They said that outright. And it can happen in any situation where you either get empires that are, good for all, or empires that are give me money. And it's a case-by-case basis. One is very difficult to do because you have to think a lot and pay attention to the local politics and stuff like that. And one is easy and materialistic. So we're going to get both for the rest of human history. But it's very much case-by-case. And there are tons of examples we can go into with British colonialism and Africa, and like Spanish colonialism and the Mesoamerican civilizations that I'm going to talk about in future videos, so get hyped for that. But it's very much a case of going into a place expecting it to want to look like the society they came from. So Brits trying to force British civilization on Africans where it just doesn't compute, it doesn't work. And the Spaniards trying to force Spanish civilization onto the Mesoamericans where it just, for various reasons, doesn't click. And that happens a lot, and then empires kind of get a little bit messed up, and the local places get messed up for reasons.
Prepping Roads TV says, Red, who have been your favorite characters to draw in your videos? Dude, Sun Wukong, probably my favorite character to draw. He's just got so much energy.
Whenever Red is drawing Journey to the West, she always sends me frames like, Blue, look, it's Sun Wukong being awesome, getting quintuple immortality.
Alright, it's either, look at Sun Wukong being all cute and junk, or look at Sun Wukong tearing the entrails off of this guy.
Yeah, there's no in between.
0 to 100. And Blue, what is the topic in history that you want to cover most but haven't yet?
Yes, so there are a bunch of topics in history from a bunch of different places that I've been meaning to cover like forever, but haven't had the chance to sit down and do until this summer. So I'm doing like 10 or 11 or however many videos this summer, covering stuff like African history, the Vikings, the samurai, Mesoamerica, First Nation America, the Persian empires, the Mongols, the Indian Empire, the Chinese empires, and just like going to all those cool places. So I'm really excited for all of that.
I'm also hyped. Ruby Reloaded says, how would you advise a beginner to start writing? Oh, dude. I'm gonna tell you a secret, and it's not gonna be a secret anymore because there's 100,000 of you. I've had a world and a story I've been working on since I was 10, and it's like, it was terrible when I started, because I was 10, I was bored in class, and I was like, I'm gonna write an entire fantasy world, because, fun fact, I just read The Tough Guide to Fantasyland, and I was like, this is a great idea! I should use all of these tropes. Don't do that, don't write that way. Pro tip, don't write from TV tropes, or The Tough Guide to Fantasyland. But like, I just kind of sat down and started building this world, and then it actually got a little bit not terrible, and then it just kind of kept going. And like, whenever I have time or whenever I feel like it, I'll just sit down and work more on it. because it's a thing that I have to do. And sometimes you get into the world building mood where you just want to figure out how stuff works, and you're like, I'm gonna do this, and it's fun. So I guess it's the worst advice ever, but how do you start an art form is you just sit down and start, and you will get better with time.
And similar sentiment to that, for me, I think the most important thing is just to, start writing, but keep doing it even if you don't think it's, the best thing ever. You'll likely get discouraged at some point, and that just happens for all things, not just writing. But the key is to just keep trying, keep practicing, and you'll learn things and you'll improve in important ways, and that's how progress gets made.
Yeah.
You kind of hit bumps and you come over them, you hit more bumps and you come over them, and it's kind of like this upward sloping thing. I have a book, and I write philosophy every week, and not all of them are winners. Most of them aren't, but just the fact that I'm constantly pushing myself to keep at it, keep doing it, ensures that there are more chances for me to succeed. So I just try to write as much as I can, and I know that good stuff will happen as long as I'm actively thinking and actively trying. That's just how it works. Nothing happens overnight, so head over to Reddit/writing prompts and just try some out. Worst case scenario, no one sees them. Best case scenario, they're good and people like them. So it's just a matter of trying and keeping at it and, not stopping. I was taught to write everything as like a super hard outline and then expand from there, and that was always terrible for me. I hated it. It was the worst, but I got really better at writing, I really improved at writing when I stopped doing that and just tried to write as I think. So when I'm sitting down to write something, whether it's, philosophy or a video or whatever, or an essay for school, I write down like the 5 or 6 or 7 or 10 things that I want to cover, and then I just think the words as I would speak them and just put them onto the page that way. A lot of people think that writing is some super hard and nebulous thing you have to do, but it's really just a subset of speaking. So if you think about writing in a way as just an extension of your own voice that you already have, it'll probably work out much better for you, because most people aren't very great writers. Most people are really fine speakers. They can say sentences perfectly, unless you're me right now and I'm stumbling all over the place. But if you think about writing as an extension of your voice, it might come way easier to you. It worked for me, so, worth a shot.
I will say I think the most important thing in any given art is to learn to not get discouraged when you realize your own art sucks. Like, no offense, everyone's art sucks when you start. And even as you improve, you're gonna look at it and be like, oh my god, this part sucks. I was so bad at this. And once you learn to not go down this rabbit hole of, oh, I'll never do art again. Once you learn to get over that, I think you're basically gonna be completely fine, because I think there comes a point in every artist development where you reread something you did and look at if it's visual art and you're like, oh wow, this is criminally bad. And that, that sucks, because you're like, how could this come out of my brain? And it feels like a judgment of character, that this is what you are, that you are the person who creates bad art. But no, you improve. Everyone improves if you try. I think a lot of people hit that first wall where they look at their own art and think it's bad, and then they just kind of stop. But if you just keep drawing art that you think is bad, after a while you're going to start drawing art that you think is not as bad, and then eventually you're going to start drawing art that you think is good, and you're going to be like, that's cool, and then you come back to it 2 months later and you're like, no, this is bad, but you know what? I'm over it. I just think coming to terms with that is one of the most important things you have to do in any given art form. We had to get used to listening to our own voices on recordings, so we could make any improvement. And that is a wall. You hit that and you're like, I'm never gonna speak again. I won't subject the world to this.
I'm actively afraid of going back to some of my first videos.
Yeah. It's tough, but you just gotta push on through, and then after a while stuff gets better.
Yeah.
Evil Apple 818 asks, have you ever considered collaborating on a topic? Red discussing a tale and Blue discussing the historical context? Yes. Nice. The Shinigami Inquisition says, 1. What are your respective political beliefs in a word? And 2. Could Beowulf win a fist fight against Hercules? 1. Don't make people's lives worse unnecessarily. Be respectful. Don't be a dick. 2. No.
Yes, that. Also no.
Daniel Gooley says, your poetry reading was awesome. Red, Blue, who are your favorite poets?
Cavafy! He's a modern Greek poet who writes snarkily about history. What's not to love?
I don't really have a favorite poet. I like individual poems more than overall poets. Poe is pretty good, consistently. Lovely says, what or who are your biggest inspirations? My parents.
The fact that time never stops and we're all going to die eventually, so we might as well make use of the small amount we have. Yay!
Okay, sorry. The existential horror of the void and my parents. AD says, silly question, but do you ship some people in myths? Yeah. Red, what are your favorite colors? Take a wild guess. Both. I know you're a classicist, but what part in history do you like the best besides ancient Greece?
Renaissance.
Feudal Japan, because I like anime. If you two switched, as in if Red did history and Blue did myths and literature, then how well would you two do in each other's roles? I get bored easily, so history has never really been my thing.
You've seen me draw. You don't want that.
I love how Red draws in animes, but what would it look like if Blue did a vid?
I guess we already answered that one.
Yeah. It's called the Les Mis video. Personally, one of my favorites.
I'm glad you had some fun with that.
Oh no, it felt like I was in
suffer.
pain the entire time.
I still wish that we had an audio recording of me trying out the drawing.
Yeah, it's kind of I wish we'd done that. Yeah. Let's see.
That was a mess.
If you were to place yourself in any myth, what would it be? Ooh, I have no idea. Something with dragons.
I would love to place myself in the labors of Hercules, but I'm just giving Hercules shit as he does all of the tasks.
Just like sassing him from Olympus.
Yeah. No, I'd be right there.
Oh, of course.
Be right next to them like, oh, really? That's how you think you should solve this? I mean, okay. No, it's your idea. No, go for it. Do your thing.
It's like, maybe if I cut off the head, and you're like...
Ooh, I wouldn't do that if I were you, Hercules.
But you know, I'm not the demigod.
I also didn't kill my family, so I mean, who am I to judge?
Whoa!
What?
Soon.
What? He killed his family. Let's put it on the table.
I'm
the bad guy for bringing it up.
Why are we
sure.
tiptoeing around this? Did I hurt your feelings? Oh god. Red, what do you do for fun, if you have any at all, because of college and vids? I do pretty much what I do for the channel for fun. I write, I draw, I watch too much TV.
I fence.
Yeah. What gave you the idea to start a channel together? Were you two just hanging out and one day just decided, hey, let's start a YouTube channel?
Nope.
Fun fact, I started the channel by myself, like, back in 2012, and I never really planned on doing anything with it. I had, like, a school assignment that I uploaded there, and then I was like, whatever. But then eventually I got bored, and I was like, you know, this is relevant to my interest, I should do more of that. And then I did more of that, and then when I got to college, my first class, we were reading the Iliad, and I was like, this is super boring, I need a way to cope with this. I know, I'll write a snarky script about it. Hey, I should just make a video of it. Oh god, there's no movie, I guess I'll draw. And then that happened, and then the Odyssey happened, and then after a while I was just like, you know what, I have an audience now, I should probably just keep doing this. And then you discovered my channel.
Yeah, it's like, oh wait, this is great.
Holy shit, and like messaged me about it, and you were like, can I do a history video? I was like, sure. So then that became a thing, and then, yeah.
Wait, because at first I was like, because you said, okay, Blue, the only movie video of the Iliad is Troy, and I can't make that work. It would be easier for me to just freaking draw the whole thing.
Yeah.
Like, go do that.
Yeah.
So you're just sending me frames every day. I was like, oh, this is great. I was telling you, like, mythologically, no, you should include this there. I don't know if this will go in the video. I'm just fondly reminiscing. But then for the Inferno video, Red was like, okay, Blue, this is gonna take forever. And I said, ahaha, one of my teachers gave a very funny lecture on Greek history. I can basically turn that into a video. So it was a one-off. And then I kept
was with the
doing
Inferno,
them.
wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you were like, all right, this drawing thing is getting real out of hand.
Yeah, it's gonna take me hours, at least, probably days or weeks. Yeah, so that's the grand story of how it all happened. Oh, damn it. Jiswee Robin says, Red sometimes claims to not be good at writing, despite all she says about character development and other literary devices. Is that just modesty or what? It's more like I'm not a writer. Like, I've got stuff I want to write someday, but I'm not, like, good enough yet to think that I should. And as of right now, I haven't written or published anything, so, like, I would not call myself a writer, and it honestly kind of wigs me out when I get people in the Trope Dog videos being like, oh yes, I'm working on my second book, and this has really made me reconsider. It's like, don't listen to me! I'm just some punk kid!
I mean, you watch this channel, you know that she's good at writing, even if she doesn't call herself a writer. Come on.
Knight of Power asks, have you ever written anything, novels, plays, etc.? I've touched on this a little, but I've got like a 100-page story timeline for a comic I want to write eventually, but I haven't made anything of that yet, so not really.
Book!
Leo asks, when you first started up this channel, did you have a clear goal in mind about the topics you wanted to cover? If so, how has it changed over time and with the growth of your audience, if at all? Well, I mentioned how, like, when I started the channel, I wasn't planning on making a channel. And it started off just Shakespeare. And then after that, I started kind of thinking, like, you know what? I've already covered the Iliad and the Odyssey now for my own personal reasons, and if people are going to start using this as a resource, I guess I should probably start covering all the big ones, like Beowulf and you know, Dante's Inferno and all these other major books that people have to read, but often get decried as like boring or things you don't want to read. And honestly, a lot of it was I have a lot of trouble focusing on books to read for like any extended period of time, so I was just kind of like, you know what, I wish I had something like this to make this easier for me, so I'm gonna make it so it's easier for people who are like me. And after I branched out from Shakespeare, it kind of turned into cover every single major book I can think of. And then when I branched out into myths, it was also cover every major myth I can think of. And then it was like cover every major myth from like major cultures I can think of, because that a lot of those are really cool but don't often get discussed. And then with the trope talks, I feel like I've just made like 300 years of work for myself. So, yay!
For me, part of it is that as a humanities person, I was very late to the game because I didn't change my major to classics and philosophy until the end of my freshman year, and I didn't like books until like late sophomore, early junior year of high school. So for me, my knowledge base was very small when I started, and I basically was confined to things that I learned about in class. And being an ancient person, a lot of it was ancient history, so that's why all of my videos in the beginning were like, here's 500 years of stuff that I only know how to talk about. And now that I've actually gotten better at researching, some of my early forays into learning about stuff I didn't know about was not so good, Byzantine Empire, I am now able to actually go out into something that I don't know about at all and learn about it. So again, this summer I'm able to cover tons of things that, like, I can't tell you one thing about Indian history, but I'm gonna have a video on it by the end of the summer. So like, yeah.
Yay! Oh yeah, and part of it is, the trope talk specifically, I only started doing those because that's basically just how I talk to people in my normal life, because the number of times I've been like, oh my god, I'm going to dissect this TV episode to excruciating detail to friends of mine who haven't even seen the show. Sorry.
Voltron.
Yeah.
Or reboot.
Oh yeah, lots of reboot, which was super good, but I don't want to make anyone watch it, because it's from like 2000 and the animation is not great. Anyway, but yeah, it was just because that's how I normally talk, and I was like, I should probably channel this into something a little more useful than just like talking the ear off of friends who haven't even seen the show.
Channel!
Let's see, Missy Morbid says, what video games did you grow up playing? If you didn't, what are some now?
My music choice should tell you that Age of Mythology and Assassin's Creed have played a large role in my life.
And I've been playing Uncharted 4. It's a lot of fun.
So good. I love Uncharted.
Piece of Joy says, if you were any breed of dog, what breed would you be and why? Golden Retriever.
Corgi.
Joshua Prito asks, what inspires you to make your videos? Initially, it was just like a fun thing I did so I could practice like all of my arts, and it is still that, but now that I've got like an audience, part of it is just keeping up a relatively constant pace so that I don't let it stagnate, you know.
I like helping people learn stuff, but also encouraging people to go out and learn stuff for themselves to show them that learning is fun. Because if I can help you pass your history test, great. But if I can help you, like, actually be interested in history beyond just passing your test, double great.
Double great. Bishop M asks, for Red, how many times have you and Blue argued about history and mythology mixing? Not that often, actually. No. And for Blue, has Red ever straight up dropped a knowledge bomb on you before?
Yes. Literally every time she sends me one of the Trope Talk scripts.
Yay! Paratrove says, do you guys prefer reading stories in the original Greek/Latin? I'm already reading the Aeneid in English, but I start book 10 Latin soon and I'm a little nervous.
So, reading things in the original language is difficult and can be annoying. I took an ancient Greek class last summer and it was hell. Hell. But I find that if you can get your hands on an opposite-facing translation, even if the translation isn't especially great, you can see like the Greek or the Latin on one side and the English on the other, so you can go back and forth and see like what all the vocab means because of the English translation, but like see the way it's structured in the original language, and you can actually do a lot with that, like hop back and forth, and it's a very low stress, low intensity way to get acquainted with a language. You just like glance over to the other side. It's easy as that. So if you're worried about reading another language, I would highly, highly suggest getting as many opposite-facing translations of stuff you're reading as you possibly can, because I think it's the absolute best way to read anything in a language that's not your own native language.
Overly Musical says, Dear Red/Blue, what was your favorite childhood book? Or if you hated books as a kid, TV show or movie? Oh man, for TV shows when I was a kid, it was definitely Reboot, and for books, I loved basically everything Discworld, but my favorite was Hogfather.
I didn't read much, at all, but oh man, I love the Batman and the Justice League cartoons,
Yes.
and SpongeBob, and Samurai Jack, and Looney Tunes, and Star Wars.
Skydog says, say you've just been given an impossible task by some minor ancient king or other. Which patron god or goddess from any pantheon would you choose to give you cool magic stuff and guide you on your way, and why? Probably Thor. He seems like the most likely to just blow up the king and let me go.
Similar loophole, I would choose Zeus because he'd be the most likely to bang the king and then turn it into a cow, thus solving all of my problems.
Yay! And if the impossible task was banging the king and then turning him into a cow, problem solved!
Thank you, Zeus.
Trippy Reptile asks, are there any works of literature that you feel that is overrated? If so, why? You guys deserve more attention. I love all your videos. I learn more from your videos than 5 years of English in school. Thank you.
I maintain that everything written after the year 1600 was a mistake.
Catcher in the Rye. Elaine Earl says, how does one college? Like, pick a major, living situation, source of income, become a semi-responsible adult. How did you guys do it, and tips for how we can do it? Also, what got you two interested in myth, history, literature, philosophy, and all that jazz? Has it been a passion since you were young? Any anecdotes or particular memories that stand out as a moment of enlightenment when you suddenly realize this is really neat and I want to learn it and then maybe later teach it? Because you're doing a fantastic job of that, this channel is so informative. Okay, Ray College. I still eat ice cream for dinner and squeal about dinosaurs. I am not a responsible adult.
College is not being an adult. There's this huge myth that, when you go off to college, it's like, oh, I'm gonna be an adult and go to college. No, we're all giant children. And once you realize that, it makes everything way easier.
I'm pretty sure all adults are just giant children faking adulthood.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
No one's actually an adult.
Yep.
Unless you hate everyone.
Now that Google exists, it's a lot easier to fake that stuff. It's like, how does one taxes?
Yeah.
For the myths and stuff, I have kind of always been into that stuff. Like, I had the Dolores books when I was younger, and my dad read me the Mahabharata and the Journey to the West and stuff, so I don't know, I had a fun grounding in a lot of them, but I didn't know a lot beyond Greek and Norse mythology, so it's been pretty fun looking that stuff up. Oh, sorry, and Neil Gaiman, he wrote all these stories about, kind of fusions of various different cultures, like Sandman and American Gods both just kind of had this casual, all myths are real, and some of them are angry and want to kill you. Just a lot of good stuff, and I really like the general feel of that kind of on the surreal urban fantasy. And I do actually have a moment of clarity. It's really funny. So I was in a Shakespeare class in high school, and we've been reading Much Ado About Nothing. It should not be surprising that this was my moment of clarity. And I was at dinner with my family and a couple of their family friends, and we were talking about Much Ado About Nothing, and I thought it was really funny how you've got a dozen incredibly forgettable characters, and you've got these two really funny ones, because Beatrice and Benedict were absolutely delightful. And my brother, who was at the time 12, was like, hey, I don't know what that story is, tell it to me. And I basically just launched into this giant, incredibly snarky, incredibly uninformative, just alright, so there's this dude, right, and he's into this girl, but she's she's into him, but she's all mean, and he's all mean, and then there's these two other girls, I don't know what they're doing, and at some point in the explanation I realized that everyone at the table was laughing hysterically, and I was like, oh, I should write this down. And the rest is history.
I have a reverse instance of that. So Assassin's Creed got me on the history bandwagon fairly early-ish on, but I hated reading and English and stuff for most of my life, but I had a lucky string of really good teachers that kind of turned me around to it, made me realize there's more to books than dissecting what the symbolism of the curtains means. Because I like themes, I hate symbolism. Symbolism is a shortcut for people who don't actually know how to write. I should cut that out, I'm gonna regret saying it.
Well, the writers are gonna be like, fuck you, things are like other things.
What?
We get it, poets. Things are like other things.
Yeah, come on. But it's really just a lucky string of really good teachers, and one of my professors in freshman year told the story of ancient Athens in a way that was really funny, and I thought, gee, I should write that down.
Yay!
So she's smart, I'm just a lying thief.
Joshua Dark, cool name, says, "Hey, I've been a subscriber for what feels like forever, and I really love what you guys do. I kind of have two questions, if that's alright. First, I'm a computer science major who loves writing fantasy genre stories. Do you have any advice specifically for portraying subjective sides, like points of view? And do you think history has a large influence in modern fantasy? As in, our typical warrior-type societies seem awfully Hellenistic and Spartan-y, our desert settings tend to take a caliphate feel, etc. And where does creativity come in to make the illusions unique? Last bit, I'm recently out of a rough breakup, and I was wondering if either of you had any advice on just moving on. I know it doesn't have much to do with y'all, and it's kind of selfish to make a comment about it, but if you could still answer my other questions, I'd be super happy, and it's just if you feel comfortable with giving advice. I hope you have a wonderful day. You'll get to 100k in no time, smiley face." Okay, a lot to unpack here. First off, I think the trick to subjectivity and writing disparate points of view is just to make sure that every character has a very consistent point of view. And it sounds obvious, but like a lot of times you kind of get placeholder characters, like you get a villain who is evil because they're evil. Whereas if you write even your moral gray areas as people who are in a moral gray area because of ways that they actually think and see the world, you end up with a much more consistent story. And it helps if your good guys have reasons to be good that come out of their worldview. So like, it's very common to have the hero who's like, I believe there is good in everything. And then you get the villain who might be like, nope, I used to think that, I'm incredibly jaded now because I've seen the atrocities that people can do, and that's why I'm evil. And you know, as long as those viewpoints remain consistent, I think you'll be able to, like, you won't be explicitly saying two perspectives, both alike in dignity, but you will basically be saying, like, look, this guy, he's doing this because of his worldview, this guy's doing this because of her worldview. You can kind of, the readers will notice what the worldviews are as long as they remain consistent. If they can deduce what the worldview is, if you give them enough information, you won't need to be explicit about it. Okay, let's see. Do I think history has a large influence in fantasy settings? Yeah, definitely. I think actually less so in modern day. I think modern fantasy mostly draws from older fantasy. But older fantasy was straight up just like, you had your Vikings, and you had your Mongols, and you had your Roman Empire. Usually,
it's an easy shortcut.
It is a very easy shortcut. And, you have the Caliphate. Sometimes I've seen people basically recreate the Great Zimbabwe to China trade empire that was around for a while, and that general feel of like, you've got gold from far-off lands and spices from other far-off lands, and yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of really cool stuff in history, and a lot of people just kind of like take that and put it in their fantasy world, and there's nothing inherently wrong with that. It's a little boring at it because this was happening in like the 30s. That could be also a little bit racist, but like, what isn't a little bit racist from the 30s? Let's be real.
Oh, jeez. Even the cartoons were racist.
Yeah.
I mean, think about Skyrim. It's just Romans and Vikings. That's it.
Yup. And it's all dropped on top of what, Greenland?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. I think modern fantasy is a lot more based on older fantasy. And this is just a thing that happens when you have a genre that's around for a long time. The new stuff draws on the old stuff, and the old stuff draws on more original stuff, or in this case, non-original stuff. So modern fantasy is basically all either Tolkien or the older, more standard fantasy land of like political intrigue and cool castles and magic, but maybe it's mostly been forgotten or forbidden, or you know, there's a very standard fantasy land that people write in. There's a very standard Tolkien-esque fantasy land that other people write in, and this fantasy land is built a lot more on like, I don't know, Conan the Barbarian kind of style. That kind of semi-historical, but there's magic and dragons kind of thing. Oh god. Where does creativity come in to make the illusions unique? Okay, I'm really biased because I go whole hog on the world building. I think that if you want to draw from history, that's fine, but it's easier and possibly more rewarding to draw small bits from history and then see what you can build from there. So like, oh, I don't know. There's like cool parts of other civilizations that you can take in and draw. There's this ruined city on the island of Kilwa-Kisawani, which I think is off the coast of Somalia, and it's built entirely out of coral because they had no rock that they could build cities from.
It's really cool.
It's so cool. It's so dope, and I wouldn't have thought of that on my own, but now it's like, all right, so I've got, in my world, I've got like this race of underwater people. I could have them building stuff out of coral. Actual buildings. I don't know. It's like you can draw small things, and if you see something and it inspires you, usually that doesn't mean you want to take that thing and put it in whatever you're working on. It means that it's getting you thinking in certain directions. We're going to need to do a lot of color adjustment. It keeps readjusting.
Oh, jeez, it keeps... yeah.
It doesn't like make you want to take the thing and put it in the other thing. It makes you want to like take the thing and see what can naturally arise in this world you're already building. I don't know. I think the world building is a lot of fun, which is why I do it, but I also think it can be really useful. Like, the world I'm working on, I started from, like, fundamental physics principles in that world, and then I just kind of went from there, so... Obviously, I'm not going to be a fan of taking an entire civilization and putting it somewhere else, but...
Or, for a shorter shortcut, which doesn't seem as cheap, just write historical fiction. It's all right there. You don't even need to steal from it. It's just like,
yeah. This just
Romans
is...
fighting the frickin' Spartans. I don't know. Make it happen. You can do it!
Yeah. You could be like, what if you had samurais versus Vikings with robots? Because if you drop in time travel, you can just throw in whatever the fuck you want.
I, too, have seen Samurai Jack within the past week.
The rough breakup, that's right. Okay. I am about the farthest thing it gets from an expert on dealing with breakups. God.
I'm not far ahead.
I guess, like, I would recommend just, like, treating yourself for a while. Like, you've been through something rough, you're probably having to, like, readjust how you think about stuff, so just, like, be, like, easy on yourself, take a lot of naps, do things you enjoy, get food you like, go see movies like Wonder Woman. Just, like, don't... I mean, I'm not gonna say, like, don't wallow, because sometimes if you're sad, it helps to just, like, make yourself more sad for a while, and then just be like, oh, I feel a lot better afterwards. But, like, just be good to yourself right now. Like you'd be good to a friend who'd come through a rough breakup.
Yeah, exactly. Same basic idea. Breakups are no fun no matter which side you're on, but you have friends, and those friends are happy to be there for you. So, talk to people and treat yourself, but also remember that as much of an important part of your life this person may have been, you're still you, and you're a full, like, human person, and you have value in yourself, independent of this other person, and just be the best you that you can be.
Yeah. Charlie Nguyen says, opinion on the school system. I personally think it's heavily flawed, but if you don't, can you please explain why? I think that the American school system takes things that people enjoy doing, like reading and running around, and makes it things they hate doing by forcing them to do it to the point of insanity. And I think that that is possibly the worst thing you can do to someone, is taking something they enjoy and making it something they hate.
Yeah. Despite all of the awfulness about exactly that, there are still plenty of really, really good teachers out there that do care and want to make you learn.
Yeah.
So find those teachers and never let go.
Yes. Be friends with those teachers. Friend them on LinkedIn.
In conclusion, subscribe to our channel to avoid the horrors of the schooling system.
Yay! Alright, so, thanks for joining us for Q&A number 2.
And thank you for subscribing, all 100,000 of you. That's the size of some small cities.
Yeah, that's terrifying. Well, it has been an absolute joy talking to you people. And we will see you in the next video. Bye!
Bye!